So I guess I'm just gonna start off by just asking everybody to introduce themselves, and I'm just gonna say a little bit about introduce myself to everybody. Then I'll just ask everybody to introduce themselves, and then the first question is most likely gonna be, what are some new trends in the metaverse that you're seeing and paying attention to? Start off something simple.
Cool.
Mm.
How long is the panel for? Does anyone know?
It's about 45 minutes, I think. So, okay, I'll go first. So hi, I'm Thomas Nawfal, co-founder of MetaYachts.
Oh, we started already?
Yeah, we started. I think we started. I didn't know either. Go ahead, Thomas.
We started. Yeah, we're live, guys. So, Thomas, co-founder of MetaYachts, relatively new entrant to this whole space. I've been in the real world yachting industry for about 15 years and a crypto investor for about 3 or 4 years. And towards the back end of last year, with my business partner, who is the co-founder of Elysium and NFT Basel, we decided to start creating yachts in the metaverse, kind of combining our expertise, also because we knew each other from a previous business, which basically Airbnb for boats, which started accepting crypto payments back in 2017, so right very early for that industry. And then we kind of combined everything and created MetaYachts, which basically we're building marinas in various metaverses, putting yachts there, building experiences for brands, for private individuals, and so on and so forth. So an exciting new project, which I'll be very happy to tell you more about during this panel.
Awesome. Thank you. Lorne, can you please tell us, your role in the metaverse?
Sure. So I guess from a background perspective, 15-year former investment banker, worked for a firm now owned by Stifel, left and ran a health tech business for 9 years. Through the period was seed and Series A investor in a bunch of different tech companies, including some crypto businesses, and got asked by the chairman and CEO of tokens.com, Andrew Kegel, to join the Metaverse group. Spent a bunch of time with Jason Cassidy and Michael Gord, two co-founders of Metaverse Group, and was lucky enough to be asked, and became the first CEO of the business in October of 2021. And currently the CEO of the Metaverse Group, which is a business that acquires virtual land across, currently we're in 10 plus metaverses, but across many different metaverses. And we have a software design team and gaming team that builds out those experiences. And we bring brands and companies and all types of people into the metaverse with amazing experiences, and have a lot of fun doing it.
Awesome. Thank you. And Mario.
So Mario Nofu, in the crypto space, founded IBC in 2017, which is now a pretty big incubator and accelerator and marketing agency. But my focus is NFT Tech. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of NFT Tech, which, we know the guys that Lorne works with really well, very close. And we're planning to go public on the Canadian stock market pretty soon. We're a holding company and we have our own products in the NFT space. So we essentially give access to retail investors to the space. My job is deploying capital in the NFT space. So really the metaverse is what I look into. So I obsess over it, and I'm on a plane every 3-4 days speaking about the metaverse in different countries. So it's a pretty exciting topic for me.
Yes, pretty exciting time as well. Metaverse, the opportunities that there is today is just so amazing. A little bit about myself, for those who don't know, I am a founder of Bridging Networks. I've been in the crypto space for the past 5 years, hosting VIP dinners all around the world, basically connecting people and learning directly from the best people in the space. I am also CBDO of Hyperlens, which is taking Web3 and connecting it to AR, and taking the metaverse into a different frontier, which is AR. And so yeah, I'm really interested in the metaverse. I've learned so much, traveling the world, and I want to see, pick this panel's heads, and collect your perspectives. So, Lauren, being in the Metaverse group and being a part of so many different, metaverses and platforms, what are some of the trends that you're seeing and that are catching your interest in the space?
Yeah, great question. I mean, we see lots of different emerging items. The first piece I would say to you is, Decentraland is obviously one of the oldest metaverses out there. Has a great community, great for events. But some of the feedback we've been getting, and when you compare it to Sandbox, also a great metaverse with amazing corporate partnerships, is that people are looking for more photorealistic type of metaverses, especially when you look at kind of what Thomas was talking about earlier with respect to the brands and the luxury side of it. They're certainly very, very interested in that and finding opportunities to display that. So we're starting to see more and more metaverses built on more photorealistic platforms. There are several to say the least that are looking at or are building on Unreal Engine today, which we think is an interesting trend. And one that we're certainly watching and participating in. I think the other trend that I find really interesting, which again to play on a little bit on what Thomas was saying, is the pipeline of the number of brands that are coming to see us with respect to working in the metaverse grows daily and is quite substantial. So there's a ton of interest around different fashion shows and doing different fashion weeks, and traditional fashion shows are now coming to us and looking to do metaverse programming as part of their programs. So we really see fashion as a huge opportunity in the metaverse. And certainly those are two of the more interesting trends, but there are many others I could probably blab on for quite a while, but those are two that I'll say off the top of my head.
That is something that I definitely see, the trend going towards. Especially, congratulations on the Fashion Week in decentralizing the fashion district. That was a great success. I hear really good things about it, and I know a lot of people who attended. I had a great time. So like Mario, same question.
Yeah, can you? I've got a few comments on what Lorne said, but can you repeat the question as well? So I don't want to,
So
divert too
being in
much.
the space, you're constantly, traveling the world. You've been speaking about the metaverse, constantly, and you're very well educated on what's going on in the world in the metaverse. So what are some trending, things? There's some trends that you see, up and coming in the metaverse.
All right. So first on what Lorne said, I think fashion in the metaverse is fascinating because I think, as the metaverse is a digital representation of the physical world, and in the physical world, we love signaling to the world whether we're rich or whether we're a certain identity. And the same will apply in the metaverse because obviously humans are using the metaverse. So how will fashion brands, for example, let's talk about the fashion show you did, Lorne. We have one of our projects, Faith, that NFT Tech worked with, and IBC. And they had a store there, Faith Tribe, because they had a store there. They sponsored, I think, the after party at your show. And Faith is, I have a lot of debates, and I had one on stage 2 days ago with the founder of Faith about how different will the metaverse be to the physical world and how detached will it be? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know how people will portray their identity within the metaverse because the metaverse doesn't have physics. Here we drive a nice car, we wear a nice watch, we wear clothes with a certain brand. But in the metaverse, you can ride a dragon, you can fly, you can teleport, especially now that gaming is like the early adoption of the metaverse. So how people display that identity will be really interesting, and how important will it be in the metaverse? But to go back to your question, because I want to just comment on what Lorne was saying, but to go back to your question, opportunities in this space. I've said this a lot of times, and I'll repeat it again. Like, the human brain overestimates the short-term impact of innovation and underestimates the long-term potential. And so when you overestimate the short-term impact, don't expect the metaverse to suddenly engulf all aspects of our life. I'm talking about the Web3 metaverse, not the Web2 metaverse, which includes Zoom, Twitter, Instagram, etc. The Web3 immersive 3D metaverse and open metaverse. So the early adopters in the metaverse is gaming. Okay, so that's some people call it the killer use case of blockchain, where retail is, flooding it faster than VCs can catch up. so that's the most fascinating subject for me. Now, for investors, what to look at. I think I missed out on a lot of that NFT hype, all these profile pictures, because I just thought they're completely stupid. And I was wrong, obviously, in some ways, because they evolved into something more than just pictures. But I think yield-bearing assets, in-game assets, beyond land, because land is not needed in the metaverse for, having a warm place, having a bathroom, etc. You don't need that to sleep, to eat. There's no physics in the metaverse. Land makes sense when it has utility. So yield-bearing assets with utility is what fascinates me. We bought a lot of in-game assets. YGG is doing a lot of that. A lot of guilds are doing that. For me, the next exciting area will be exactly this. NFTs, in-game assets, yield-bearing, have some sort of purpose, is what fascinates me.
Beautiful. And the metaverse is evolving, and the game the gamification of the physical into digital. Thomas, how do you see this? Trending in, like, your perspective. Turning something that is physical, which is yachts, boats, something that is an experience, that is something physical, and you're taking that and you're moving it into the metaverse. Can you tell me, like,
Of course. So this kind of latches on to what Mario was saying just now about utility, because an asset such as a yacht in the real world is a very clear utility. It's a status symbol. People go cruising on it. They go from one place to the other and enjoy the beautiful sunshine, the beach, etc., bring their friends. So it has a very specific use case in the real world. Now, bringing it to the metaverse, you kind of lose all of the tangible aspects of the use case of a yacht. And so we need to find a different utility, kind of different way of bringing that luxury to the metaverse, keeping it, maintaining the status symbol, the luxury element of a yacht in what is now a 2D environment, hopefully in the future a 3D, with whatever technology gets invented to make it more tangible in a virtual setting. So this is the challenge, really, the conveying that utility, and then we can find new utilities. We can still host events. We can use them as virtual stores to host a different variety of wearables and other NFTs. But also, you can also defy the laws of physics, right? So you can go beyond what is expected in the real world and create really cool concept, not only in terms of design, but also in terms of how of the experience of being on board, being on a yacht. So, for example, you could step on board one of our MetaYachts, and then you're transported into a different world. It can be an experience, a specific experience for a brand that they want to portray. It could be, for example, we talked about Fashion Week. We could walk onto a yacht which has a party outside, but then as you step in, you're all of a sudden in a fashion environment with a huge catwalk, with digital avatars walking around, with displaying wearables, which you can purchase directly from the fashion show, etc. So really, it all comes down to the imagination and how you can really bring this forward in an exciting way.
What utilities did you? Sorry to interrupt. Quick question, Thomas. What utilities did you decide on for the yachts? Like just running events and
so
just
it depends.
replacing it? Okay.
It really depends, because we're speaking to a variety of brands at the moment and celebrities. For example, we're speaking to a major DJ who wants to use it as first of all as a brand statement. Like, I'm the first DJ with my own branded yacht in the metaverse, and he's actually a DJ that's quite active in the NFT space and in virtual concerts, etc. So he's going to use it as an event space and as a place to sell his merch. We're speaking to, for example, fashion companies, which can have a branded fashion yacht, again, as a statement and as a virtual store, but also companies like online gambling, casino companies. They can have there's a concept of the riverboat in the real world, which is a kind of casino yacht which operates in international waters, so out of all legislation, etc., which applies in the real world. But it's also in the metaverse. It can be, again, really cool brand statement, but also an awesome location to host, for example, high roller poker games in a very different setting.
Cool.
That's great. So like I hear, something that's very like I hear something come up with everyone's responses to this question, what's trending. And I feel like it's something what it is creators, right? So there's a community of creators now that is growing dramatically around the world, So like my next question is like how is it that you see these metaverses creating tools to help bring in these creator communities into their metaverses? This can go to Lorne.
Sorry, Milton. Can you? I didn't really get the crux of that question. Can you?
So basically, like right now, we're moving towards, a community of creators online, digitally, right, that are empowered around the world. Like, let's say, for instance, how Instagram has Reels, TikTok creates the tools for people to create content and be video editors when they really weren't beforehand. So the community is like bringing in a lot of people to grow. So how is it that, you see this community of creators growing, on these platforms, and how are these platforms incentivizing these creators to join in, like these decentralands, like these sandboxes?
Yeah, so the platforms are working, closely either directly with some of these, brands, luxury brands, sports teams, whatever it may be, or working, with groups like us together with these brands and sports teams and artists and all that type of stuff. I think all these, metaverses, frankly, are incented to work with companies like ourselves and fashion brands and luxury brands and all these types of creators, as we've referred to them, because at the end of the day, the creators, and as we've seen in the Web 2.0 platforms, the more traditional platforms, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever it may be, is these creators are what drives traffic to these platforms. And so we need to incent and encourage and make create economies, as we're doing, or create very little friction in getting these types of creators into the metaverse. And I think, certainly the decentralized metaverse platforms are certainly understand this concept and are working with us and others to bring these creators in, because that is the key. Is you need to have that experience. And whereas today, if you look at a Web 2.0 platform, choose Instagram as an example. Obviously, if I create content, I can't monetize that content. I don't own that content. The only way is by selling ads or selling goods on my Instagram. Whereas here, if I own my own content, which I do in a metaverse, then it becomes so much more lucrative and so much more exciting to these creators, and they're able to unlock things that they've never unlocked before. So I think in itself, the platforms are kind of self-fulfilling, and I think it's in the best interest for the platforms because they want community to come. It's almost a vicious circle to encourage these creators to get involved. And that's what incents all of us and drives the economy in these different metaverses.
That's great. And Mario, so like where do you see NFTs, and how in the metaverse like growing, how is it that the NFTs and the metaverse is going to be, like how do you see the relationship between the two in the future?
Yeah. So the metaverse has existed for a long time. You can even argue it's existed back in the 70s and 80s, but like a very archaic version of the metaverse. But for a Web3 metaverse to exist, for the metaverse to be a true digital representation of the physical world, it has to have the concept of ownership. Like I own these AirPods, I own these headphones, that phone. Wherever I travel, they're mine. They're in my suitcase. And how do you own things? Well, it's something very valuable. Usually have a piece of paper, like a house, that proves you own it. Or if it's something that's not too valuable, physics allows you to own it. I put this in my house. I put it in my pocket. I put it in my suitcase. So we've got that whole system to allow society to function that depends on the concept of ownership. Now, how can that be represented in the metaverse? Well, it kind of is already there, but in a centralized way. You've got companies that say who owns what. But it's not really how our world works. There isn't certain companies that say who owns what. There's multiple countries here, and some of them are function differently. But generally speaking, we have freedom. It's a bit arguable. We have freedom. For that to exist in the metaverse, you need a technological improvement to allow for the concept of ownership to exist. And that's what NFTs are. So I've kind of given a long definition of what non-fungible tokens, what they mean. So what does that mean for the metaverse? Well, it's like the kind of the atomic unit of the metaverse. It allows it all to function. Now I can own an asset within a game and then move it to another game. That's called interoperability, a long way away, because very technical, very complex, but that's what we're aiming to achieve. I can trade it. I can do whatever I want with it because I own it. It's not like if I put these AirPods in my mouth, Apple's not going to send someone here and take them out of my mouth because, hey, I've broken the terms of service. I can do whatever I want. They own them. So that concept now is starting to exist in the metaverse. And what we're going to see as well is a lot of the physical assets, at least in the early days, we're going to see a very, similar to what Thomas's company does. It's got yachts. Yachts don't really need to exist in the metaverse. If you bring in Alien and show him, hey, we have yachts in the metaverse, he's like, why do you need yachts? You just got any space. But yachts exist in the metaverse because in the physical world, they have a meaning. They show luxury. That meaning in the physical world is kind of transported into the digital world. And we'll see a lot of this. And we'll see a lot of the physical assets turned into NFTs and physical items we own that we have importance to in the physical world be reflected in the digital world in the short term. In the long term, I think the physical and digital world will be more and more detached, but that's pure speculation. I could be very wrong.
This is great. Thomas, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I think what's key as well is, like Mario mentioned, is interoperability, and for all this to work and evolve and grow. Is, for example, now you have X amount of metaverses, you have Sandbox, you have Decentraland, you have people working on Earth 2, you have all sorts of things, but for the whole space to really grow and become attractive to the masses, there needs to be interoperability, and you will need to be able to transfer your assets, NFTs, or in whatever form or format from one to the other. I think that's definitely key.
For sure. And like I'm looking at the messages, the comments, and someone is asking, where do you see NFTs play a role in corporate engineering worlds? Anyone want to take that question? Let that up.
Just trying to find the question. What role do NFTs have in the corporate engineering world?
Yeah.
That's a tough one. I don't know. Guys, do you have any idea what NFTs, what role they play in the corporate engineering? I barely understand what corporate engineering means and how NFTs has a role to play in that. We skipped that one. We're not smart enough to answer that. Sorry, man. Unless you can expand on the question.
So which brands are better or worse positions for like NFT creations in the metaverse? Like I see like in gaming right now, there's a lot of like like pieces of let's say a tank. Everything is turned into an NFT, and they're creating this new economy with NFTs within the metaverse, with ownership and being able to trade and everything like that, collectibles. What are some what are some use cases that with NFTs that you see governments doing, like to gamify tourism, or to gamify something from the traditional physical world into the metaverse?
I think any brand that will try to participate in the Web3 economy, whether you call it metaverse, NFTs, whatever you want to call it, there's the right way of doing it and there's the wrong or stupid way of doing it. So the wrong and stupid way of doing it is essentially just launching a freaking NFT that means nothing. I think someone used Budweiser turned something into an NFT. Can't remember what it was. But it literally had no utility, no meaning whatsoever, or very boring utility. Like NFTs to give you access to restaurants and discounts. Why do you need NFTs for this? Like, just give me a coupon code and that's it. A promo code, and you could use that for a discount. So that's I'm calling it a stupid way, but it's not exciting. At least they're dipping their toes in the water, but a lot of them are just cash grabs. They turn anything into an NFT. What's fascinating is when brands try to understand the space and try to enter the space in a native way. Obvious ones are sponsoring certain events like Lorne's Metaverse Group's fashion district. That's one way of doing it. But finding ways they can contribute, like let's say they participate in a game and they sponsor a certain, or they help develop or sponsor a certain asset within that game that has certain utility. Let's say Tesla sponsors spaceship in a game like Cedar's Heroes, one we're investing in. They're having spaceship they're creating, they're selling. Star Atlas is doing the same. Imagine having Tesla branded spaceship. That's fascinating. And then Tesla helps develop those assets. That's a better way to participate in the space.
Absolutely, we're seeing that as well with some of the traditional yachting brands that I'm used to work with, and they're very keen on exploring the metaverse, but there's not necessarily a use case for creating NFTs of real yachts in all cases. So, but for example, like you say, the gaming element. Imagine you have a game where they can have their own branded yachts, which people can buy and race around, or even destroy in the gaming environment. That could be very interesting for them. But from what we've seen, the metaverse is not only about NFTs. NFTs is, of course, a building block regarding ownership structure and how people can exchange assets. But it's also, from my experiences, it can be like an evolution of a website. For example, you can have a virtual world of a specific brand where they don't necessarily sell or NFTs or anything, but they kind of attract their audience, their customers, and give them a full brand experience, which then relates to sales in the real world. So there's also that element to consider as well, in my view.
I think coming back to the question and some of what Mario said is, whether you drive NFTs as part of this or not, the experiences themselves need to be fun and need to be creative. And so, a great example is, going back to Mario's example, is if I'm an automotive company, as a simple example, why wouldn't I create using my brand, let's choose BMW and pick on that, where I gamify the experience and I have a racetrack, and if I win the racetrack, maybe I get a special drop of one of the original, BMW M vehicles or something like that. So something pretty cool that I could then drive around in the different metaverses. Again, we're getting into interoperability and other technical issues, but putting that aside, that type of stuff where you can really have fun, you have a gamified experience, and you walk away with some utility and something that's unique that you can be proud of, and show something for it, I think is the type of stuff we need to create in the metaverse today to continue to attract people and actually to make sure that these NFT drops aren't just PFPs. And at the end of the day, people run after them or chase them for the fear of, FOMO reasons, and their values drop instead of having something that ongoing. I mean, my favorite thing that I still love to this day, which I'm sure will create some call it controversy here on this, is because of some recent activities. But I think the Bored Apes brand has really done a great job in what they did. And what is always intrigued me most about that is they've took their first NFT drop and they got influencers and a whole bunch of other people involved, but they actually have now created much more than that. They've created a brand, and that's pretty cool if you think about how that came about and how they did that.
Yeah, definitely. And like, what is it? Like, what are some things that you would give advice to people trying to get into the space? Because the metaverse is a huge opportunity for people to get in. What would everybody here give advice to people trying to get involved in the metaverse?
Well, I'd say brands. I think I've talked enough for what brands need to do is just participate and understand. Investors, we invest very heavily at NFT Tech in this space. Lorne and Metaverse Group invest heavily in the space. For investors, very, very, very long-term thinking. It's going to take a long time for a lot of these open games, decentralized games, which are going to evolve into metaverses. They are metaverses. It's going to take a long time for them to get adoption, to get gamers in. And don't use Axie Infinity's fast growth as an example, because Axie Infinity's growth is for people wanting to make money, which is not sustainable. It's how pyramid schemes are built. Now, Axie is pivoting to something more with other forms of utility, such as enjoyment and socializing and stuff. But that's going to take a long time. Technologically, we're not there yet. We don't have the technological capabilities to have open systems, open protocols, open games, open metaverses to compete with the closed ecosystems we have now. So think very, very long term. For users, it's a great time. It's a great way to explore the space and see how it's going to change your life in certain aspects. You're going to be, I think, going to be impressed by how far it will change your life. But again, gradually over time. And then you got intellectuals, and for intellectuals, you're going to see how society shifts over the next few decades as the metaverse evolves into a Web 3.0. And the last one, I forgot who the last one was, but I think I've covered all of them of what to expect and what to do. Entrepreneurs. For entrepreneurs wanting to find, because I'm an entrepreneur myself, that's what I love. For entrepreneurs, look at, so you want obviously business ideas to make money. Look at various aspects of the physical world and see how you can replicate them to the digital world. Thomas is a perfect example of that. So whether you're an event organizer, whether you're a DJ, whether you're an educator, it doesn't matter what you are, an engineer, an architect, all these roles are going to have a similar or identical role in the metaverse, in the digital world. So it's an incredible opportunity as long as you're curious and patient.
Patience is key, definitely. We're still early days. There's a lot to come still, and a lot of technology to be refined and developed to make it all work. I completely agree on that point.
100%. And like Thomas, do you have any like words, advice or encouragement to people who are trying to, take these physical, businesses and these physical assets and, bringing them into the metaverse and digitizing them?
Of course, I think at first it's about how you need to really study your own brand and what it is that you do, and see how that can translate into a Web3 experience. It might not be for everyone just yet, and if it's probably also important to get some advice from people who've been doing it for a while, and to really understand what the challenges and the opportunities are in the space.
Great. And like, Lorne, I wanted to see, if you had anything to say to investors. Are we too late? Is it too late to really get into these decentraland sandboxes and, really participate as an investor?
Yeah, so first, I would kind of come back to the original question and encourage everyone to get involved. I think learning, playing, all that type of stuff is key. And we, as call it earlier, metaverse participants, encourage everyone and dip your toe if it's just dipping your toe. And even to Thomas's point on the brands and other things, our view is quite simple: is just start. You're going to probably attract quite a different demographic and quite a different individual to your experience or whatever you're trying to create. And that's one thing we haven't talked about today, though. But I think that opportunity to attract those customers that you might not be able to get at or haven't got at before, or those people that aren't watching TV anymore, or whatever they may be, is a huge opportunity as it continues to scale. Now, with respect to the investment piece around the different metaverses, I don't think it's too late. I generally believe that we're still very early. I think you need to be careful about which metaverses you pick and what locations in the different metaverses you pick. But as we've seen, it's a volatile space, and I think there's plenty of opportunity to enter. And we're in the early days of usership, right? So look at Sandbox. I think there are, call it 2 million registered users. Decentraland, I think, is slightly less. There's more active users in Decentraland because it's in live all the time, whereas Sandbox is still moving through its alpha seasons. But at the end of the day, we're just so early in this space. I think there's so much opportunity, but I would also say be careful out there.
Yeah, for sure. But what you said, what you mentioned, Lord, was very interesting. How for brands in particular, it's an opportunity to attract a completely different demographic to what you might be used to, and that's very very to the point. Yeah, I'm seeing it already in the yachting industry, and I'm sure a lot of similar luxury industries will have similar comments. The average age of a yacht buyer has gone down 15 years in the last 18 months, and that's all due to crypto. That's all newly rich crypto millionaires who are spending their money on luxury experiences. So what better way of attracting that crowd, all the streamers, the gamers, etc., than by having a Web3 metaverse experience.
Definitely. Mari, did you want to touch on that?
On spoiled rich crypto people buying yachts.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't have anything to add. I think we've covered all the points about what the space needed. I looked at one of the questions about education. That's key. I think a lot of people still don't understand the space. The amount of people buying up those profile pictures or flipping them and not understanding what NFTs are, but investing in NFTs is insane. But then I'm just completely wrong. Like, what happens with moonbirds and bored apes? Like, I'm a big fan of CryptoPunks, but I had my doubts about bored apes. And look how wrong I was because I underestimated the power and the importance of community. Or moonbirds. That's another NFT that blew up. Or another one called OK Bears. Like, far out. OK Bears, moonbirds. Look at those names. Bored Apes Yacht Club. And them, printing millionaires. A lot of those yacht buyers from Thomas, Thomas is selling to. Probably a lot of them made them with those PFPs. So education is key. So the comment that mentioned education is important. But I don't know what to teach them when there's things like OK Bears popping up.
Yeah, it's really the space is getting really, wacky. A lot of different, new things popping up, new business models, and that's the beautiful part about the space is that people get to create, be creative. Like this is a new world that we're creating, and a lot of people are limited because they keep following the old way of life and those, limitations that were there before. Now you can make anything. You can make 10,000 PFP images and make a lot of money, that can change your life and many others. And you see these digital assets are now being used for branding, and they're helping create whole ecosystems. And this is like a new way for people to be raising funding and everything to create these ecosystems. So I wanted
Just
to.
quickly, Milton, you mentioned something about the new business models. When I said OK Bears, moonbirds, and stuff, not making fun of them, just saying that I wasn't expecting that, and I'm not sure about Lorne and Thomas if they were much smarter than me, but I never expected that new model of it starts off with a picture that leads to a community that evolves into an entire experience, an entire ecosystem, an entire metaverse, all with 10,000 pictures. That's a business model that none of us expected. But essentially, NFTs have formed like the new pillar of a completely new way of building a business.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just to jump on that, Mayor, I think I'd said that a little bit earlier, that it is quite amazing what they've done, and they've reversed engineered, whether you want to call it a whole new way of life, whether you want to call it, in my view, I call it a brand, but whatever it may be, they recreated, backward created, in my view, a business model, which is just quite exceptional. Now the next key thing will be, what do they do with this business model, and are they able to now get it beyond those 10,000 people truly into the hands of the masses to really create, call it 100 or 150 million people on the platform, using their metaverse, which would be quite interesting, obviously. And we certainly have watched the evolution very closely from the background. And full disclosure, at this point in time, we have not purchased any land in their metaverse, but are definitely watching closely as this evolves. But yeah, I think that's the amazing thing, is you can actually traditionally put your business model on its head with this type of stuff. And I think those people that think about it that way have a chance to drive the most value into their businesses.
Definitely, the business model and the way the business is done is changing, every day, and that's the beautiful part of this ecosystem, because what never existed exists now. So yeah, let me check the questions in the chat real quick. Scroll up. So
Where do general people not exposed to this get the education? Not Clubhouse. I would say just find people that understand the space. I think there's a guy called Thomas, I think Matthew Ball Matthew Ball is one of the most interesting educators on the space, has been in the space for a really long time. So I'd recommend anyone to Google Matthew Ball, Ball, and learn from him. But Milton, got a message from Tali to wrap up. So you want to just get everyone to just do an outro and where you can find us?
All right, let's do it. Let's start with you, Mario.
Sure. Mario Nawfal, I think my name's on the screen. Outro. Don't know. I think we're very interested. I've been saying for a while, if you heard my, anyone that listens to my old content, I'll be like, I can't wait for the market to crash and everything to become cheap, because I think this is by far one of the most exciting opportunities to grab a lot of wealth. I think the next list of top 10, top 20, top 100 richest people in the world are going to be Metaverse natives. The ability to buy so many yield-bearing assets within ecosystems that could have more users than the population of most, if not all, countries is incredible. And the prices right now are insanely attractive in some places. Finally, that's the first time I actually say this, first time I ever say this. So it's very, very exciting time. Like this crash, or whatever you call correction, it could drop a lot more. I have no idea. But I'm just saying, like now, when everyone's scared, is what people like myself and Lorne and other investors look for when thinking long term over the next decade.
What about you, Thomas? Outro.
Yes, I think it echoes a lot of what Mario was saying just now. We're still at very much at early days in this whole space, and it's about educating people. It's about having the resilience to sit tight while this whole space develops, which will take some time in terms of the technology, but also in terms of the general acceptance from the general public. Part of which has to do with some of the barriers to entry which exist to access some of the metaverses. For example, Decentraland, you need a MetaMask wallet. You need to know how to use that technology in order to access those metaverses and enjoy its benefits and its experiences. So there's a lot that needs to evolve. There's a lot that needs to be still invented for it to become the kind of dream which we're all putting our chips on for the next decade or so. But it's most certainly a very exciting and exhilarating place to be.
For sure. And where can we find you?
You can contact me at thomas@metayachts.club.
Great. Lorne?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mario and Thomas have said it well. My only last comment is it's early days. There's lots of fun to have. There's lots of learning that's going to happen, lots of evolution that's going to happen in the space, and lots of ways to from an investor's perspective to make money and participate in the growth that's going to occur. As I was a banker, as I said at the beginning in the 90s, when the internet, first came into prime time, is the way I'd put it. I took BlackBerry public as a banker. This is what I saw back in the 90s. So, and people thought I was crazy then, and people think I'm crazy again today. So this is perfect. It means maybe I'm actually correct. So appreciate that and enjoyed speaking today.
Thank you. Thank you guys for the insightful discussion.
Thank you guys. And